No one in the township of Bitterwood could remember a time when the Ashworth house stood empty for long. It was a grand Victorian edifice on a hill, perpetually for sale, perpetually bought by hopeful new owners. They never stayed more than a season. The locals would just nod and say, "The house, don't forget, it's remembering again." When the Wiltons, Sarah, Mark, and their 8-year-old daughter Chloe, moved in, they dismissed the whispers as small-town superstition. The house was beautiful, with stained glass, carved oak, and a library that smelled of old paper and promise. The first incident was subtle. Sarah, an architect, was restoring the original floor plans. She found a hidden nook in the master bedroom wall. Inside was a single, tiny child's shoe from the 1920s. She placed it on the mantel as a curiosity. That night, she awoke to the sound of a child hopping on one foot in the hallway. Thump, scrape, accompanied by a soft, weeping whisper. "I can't find it. Where's my shoe?" Mark, a pragmatic man, heard nothing, but Chloe began having conversations with a girl named Emmy in the corner of her room. The phenomena weren't violent. They were repetitive. The house wasn't haunted by a ghost trying to communicate. It was haunted by memory itself, and it was stuck on a loop. The second memory manifested for Mark. He found an old, tarnished straight razor in a basement sink. Disgusted, he tossed it in the trash. The next morning, it was back on the sink, and the air in the bathroom carried the faint, crisp scent of bay rum and a low, wet, rhythmic shk, shk sound of a blade on a strop. That evening, shaving with his modern cartridge razor, he nicked his chin. In the mirror, his reflection smiled, wiped away his blood with a tissue, and then drew the straight razor he had thrown away, slowly, deliberately, across its own throat. The reflection faded, leaving Mark staring at his own pale, unmarked face. The smell of bay rum lingered for days. The house was remembering the deaths of its past inhabitants, not as events, but as ingrained habits. The lonely child forgetting her shoe, the bankrupt father shaving one last time. Each memory was a groove worn into the fabric of the house, replaying for anyone present. The true horror crystallized when they tried to leave. A storm knocked out the bridge to town. Their car wouldn't start. The phones died. They were trapped for the weekend. And the house, sensing a captive audience, began to layer its memories. Dinner became a nightmare tableau. They'd see their own hands cutting steak, but superimposed over them were ghostly hands from different eras. A woman's hand from the 1890s nervously crumbling bread, a man from the 1950s drumming fingers in despair. The air buzzed with the overlapping echoes of 100 forgotten dinner conversations, arguments about money, whispered lies, choked sobs, all playing at once in a deafening psychic static. Chloe's friend Emmy became clearer. She was a pale girl in a pinafore, forever searching. But now other children appeared behind her, a boy with croup coughing endlessly in a corner, a teenager weeping over a letter. The house was recalling all its lost children. The climax came on the third night. The family huddled in the parlor, the psychological pressure crushing. Sarah understood now. "It's not trying to hurt us," she whispered, her voice raw. "It's lonely. It's remembering everyone who ever lived here, and it can't stop. It wants us to stay so it can remember us too." As she spoke, the walls began to bleed photographs, not pictures on paper, but spectral images made of light and shadow. Portraits of past families materialized on the wallpaper, smiling, frozen, then fading to be replaced by others. The house was cycling through its entire album of inhabitants, faster and faster, a screaming montage of forgotten lives. In the center of the room, a final memory formed. The first owner, Silas Ashworth, a stern man in a high collar. He wasn't ghostly. He looked solid, real. He pointed a trembling finger at them, not in anger, but in desperate, futile warning. His mouth opened, and the sound that came out was the collective noise of the house. The child's hop, the razor scrape, the cough, the sob, the dinner chatter, all fused into one deafening, mind-shattering word. Leave. He was the only one who had ever tried to warn the others. Then he faded. At that moment, the storm broke. The phone rang. It was a neighbor saying the bridge was patched. They fled with nothing but the clothes on their backs. From the safety of a motel 40 miles away, they watched the news the next day. A freak lightning strike had ignited the Ashworth house. It burned with an eerie, silent ferocity to the ground. The reporter on scene said, "A tragic loss of a historic landmark." But Sarah knew the truth. The house, in its final act of remembering, had recalled the sensation of the lightning that had once struck its cupola in 1932. It had remembered the fire so vividly, so completely, that it had made the memory real. The lot on the hill remains empty. The soil, they say, is strangely cold, and nothing will grow there. The townsfolk still nod knowingly. The house is gone, but the land hasn't forgotten. It's just waiting, quietly, to remember how to build itself again.